Astrology lets you know how you're bound to your ancestors. Like, very literally. Because before we are born, there is pregnancy and birthing magic, mother-father magic, that is going on and taking place that we have absolutely no control over. None whatsoever. Zilch, nada, zero. We don't have any control. And thank goodness, because I don't know that I would want control over that. Thank you very much. But think about it. When you're born, that's your birth chart, right? Everything that's in that birth chart, it lets you see how in your birth are you bindings to your astrological placements that the ancestors that have come before you have ushered in. For me, for a long time, I think partially because of where I come from, ancestrally speaking, I have really despised the fact that we are just bound to things that the ancestors were working that we have no control over. Inheritance can be a good or a bad thing. It's very subjective. And it also depends on what you're working in your life and what you want and how that aligns to what the ancestors before you have brought through. There are certain placements in astrological charts that can show you more connections to ancestors. The 8th house, for example, any retrograde that is apparent in your chart is just naturally going to be more connected to the people that have come before you. But if you're thinking about it in the big picture, any magic that was being worked before you and during the pregnancy and the birth and the conception and the conceiving of you and your story, how you're bound to that magic, that birth chart is going to let you know. What did your mother and father want for your life? That birth chart's going to let you know how you're bound to it. It might not let you know exactly what they were working or what they wanted or what the magic that they were doing was really all about, but it's going to show you how you move through the inheritance of life, literally, that was offered to you. Crazy. That's crazy, I think. And I think crazy is a great thing. So, love you, crazy. Love you, the being and the spirit of crazy. That's true. Yeah. So keep on brewing and doing what you need to do. The reason I bring this up is because there's a lot of different ancestral transits that are happening right now. Pluto is retrograde back into Capricorn for the final time in our lives. And for some of us in the younger generations, Pluto has been in Capricorn for the majority of our life, which is really freaking weird to think about, but it's true. We also have Neptune wrapping up an entire 167-year transit around the zodiac wheel. Obviously, that's ancestrally connected, in my opinion. And Saturn is transiting the end of that through Pisces with Neptune, which is literally the figure of the father in astrology. So, I mean, come on, you know? There's some other ancestral stuff that's happening with astrological placements at this current time too, but those are like the really like big, impactful, punchy ones that are going on. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of ancestral work. Or there's a lot of ancestral work that has been done and woven over the previous many years. Many, for some of us, our entire lives. Also true. And lineages before us. Look at what you inherited from your ancestors. And then that chart, your birth chart, it's going to show you how you're bound to the inheritances wherever Capricorn is in your chart. And also spiritual inheritances, that's Pisces. And how are you able to make the transitions for the ancestral lineage when Saturn and Neptune move into Aries? You see how much weight this carries? There's a reason that astrology for this year is hard. There's many. This is one of them. It's like this is interwoven into many of them. Anyway, if you are looking for any extra astrological homework or exercises, looking back at your life and how the ancestors have offered to you and what they have offered to you, and then looking at your chart and how you're bound to that inheritance, personally, in the work that I'm doing right now is really important. And with the transits we have going on is also really important. It's just a part of what we're walking through together at this time. So if you feel like it's time to sit down and have a reflection period for that, I highly recommend it. I feel like it's probably a good idea. And then really ask yourself, what are you bringing in to this new era and generation, 2025? Because 2025, there's a lot of things that ancestrally arrive. Starting before the 2025, starting like the end of 2024, okay? That's true. But if you're really looking for like the big impacts of stuff, 2025 is a year of like great impacts of initiation and starting new cycles that are going to last for so many generations to come, which happens with every single person and generation. But the transits that are set up next year are ushering in transits that are not only going to affect, this is wild, okay? They're not only going to affect our lineages for like 200 some years, but those transits that are happening in Aries of Saturn and Neptune being conjunct next year, That's probably not going to happen for another several hundred years. So there's a ancestral shift spiritual ancestral shifts that haven't happened for several hundreds of years that are being ushered in again for new consecrations in the end of this year and 2025. So if you feel like the work is big right now, it makes sense. That's what we're walking through. So that's what I bring it offer to you. Keep doing what you need to do. Hopefully that wasn't too big for you. It's been really big for me, but it hasn't been too big. So let it feel big if it's big, because it's big. Yeah, it's big. All right, so that's what it is. Keep up your brew. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. And I'll talk to you soon.